जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे। जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी जय किशोर किशोरी। जयो जगन्नाथ बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा। जयो गौरानिताय जयो गौरानिताय जयो गौरानिताय। जयो जयो प्रभुपाद जय जय प्रभुपाद। जयो जयो गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव। निताई गौर हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवजकाचार्य अस्तोतर सत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणार बिंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवजकाचार्य अस्तोतर सत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्णा चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद, श्री अद्वैत गदाधरा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण चंद्र गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की जय। मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। नवदीप मायापुर धाम की जय। जगन्नाथपुरी क्षेत्र की जय। गोकुल द्वारका धाम की जय। गंगा माई यमुना माई की जय। वृंद देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय। श्री श्री किशोर किशोरी की जय। श्री श्री जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा महारानी की जय। गौर निताय की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपपदामह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितनां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We will be discussing 10th canto, 64th chapter, verse number 41 and 42. Viparam kritagasam api Viparam kritagasam api Naiva dhuryata mamaka Naiva dhuryata mamaka Granantam bahu sapantam va Ganantam bahu sapantam va Namaskuruta nityasaha Namaskuruta nityasaha. विप्रं कृतागसम् अपि नैवाधुर्यत न मामका घ्नन्तं बहु सपन्तं वा नमस्कुरुतु नित्यसा विपरं कृतागसम् अपि नैव ध्रूयत मामका घ्नन्तं बहु सपन्तं वा नमस्कुरुत नित्यसा विपरं कृतागसम् अपि नैव धूर्यत मामका घ्नन्तं बहु सपन्तं वा नमस्कुरुत नित्यसा विपरं कृतागसम् अपि नैव ध्रूयत मामका घ्नन्तं बहु सपन्तं वा नमस्कुरुत नित्यसा विपरं कृतागसम् अपि नैव ध्रूयत मामका घ्नन्तं बहु सपन्तं वा नमस्कुरुत नित्यसा विपरम a learned brahmana krita having committed agasam sin api even na not eva indeed druyata do not treat inimically mamaka O my followers Gnanantam striking physically Bahu repeatedly Sapantam cursing Va or Namakuruta you should offer obeisances Nityasa always Translation and purport by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. My dear followers, Krishna is speaking. My dear followers, never treat a learned Brahmana harshly, even if he has sinned. Even if he attacks you physically or repeatedly curses you, always continue to offer him obeisances. Purport. Lord Krishna offers this instruction not only to his personal associates, but to all those who claim to be followers of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now, text number 42. Yataham prapanna me vipran anukalam samahitah taha namata yuyum cha yonyatha me sadandabhak. Translation. Just as I carefully bow down to Brahmanas, so all of you should likewise bow down to them. I will punish anyone who acts otherwise. Yes. The strong translation, verse number 41. My dear followers, never treat a learned Brahmana harshly, even if he has sinned, even if he attacks you physically or repeatedly curses you. Always continue to offer him obeisances. So, In this class, we'll, we'll start by referring what is who is a Brahmana, what is spiritual advancement, the culture of respect. We'll start from Bhagavad Gita, and this verse is about respecting practitioners serious about spiritual life. We'll talk about respecting Vaishnavas. What does respecting actually means? What does spiritual advancement means in this way? What does taking direction from a spiritual master means? We'll also talk about how Bhakti Vinod Thakur asked Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to take tutelage initiation from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, even though he got Harinam from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And finally, what it means for us to advance in spiritual life by respect and service. So, conditioned soul always have four defects, but it cannot always see the truth the way it is. Even if Krishna descends in this material world, the conditioned souls are known to deride him. In Bhagavad Gita, 9th chapter, 11th verse, Krishna says that fools deride me when I descend in human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. So even when Krishna, who is not a common man, Prabhupada is saying Bhagavad in purport, in Krishna is derided when he comes to material world. People think that he's a great personality, he's a historic figure, he has a lot of opulence, has a lot of physical strength. His army Narayani Sena at that time for was very difficult to overcome. And at the time of Kurukshetra war, when Mahabharat, Krishna promised that his army will be on one side and he will be on the other side. So it was either Krishna or his army. But one more condition was there, that even if Krishna will be on whichever side Krishna will be, he will not lift any weapons. But still, Krishna was more powerful than his army. In Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 13 verse, it says that according to the three modes of material nature and work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. And although I am the creator of this system, you should know I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So this four divisions of society, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra, are actually created by Krishna so that the society can elevate themselves from animal status of life. So according to Bhagavad Gita, there's some qualities to a Brahmana. What are those qualities? Number one, they are designated as the intelligent class of men. Brahmana are the people from whom the directions are supposed to be taken. And so how does it work in a society where there are Kshatriyas are there, Vaishyas are there, Shudras are there? So we will talk about this later, but there is a symbiotic relationship between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Kshatriyas, warrior class, they do administration. They are supposed to take directions from Brahmanas, and there should be mutual respect between each other, Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. Romapad Maharaj gave a very interesting class on this topic. I'll refer to that class later. So, to elevate from animal status, the above mentioned system is created by the Supreme Lord. Brahmanas, by quality, have Brahman realization of the supreme absolute truth. There are three realization in spiritual life, advancement in spiritual status of life. Number one is Brahman realization. Brahman is the eternity feature, Sat. of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord has a form, Vigraha. His form is Satchit Anand Vigraha. Eternity, full of knowledge and full of bliss. So, Brahman realization, Brahmanas are supposed to have Brahman realization, and that is the realization of the eternity feature of the Supreme Lord. It is also an impersonal form of realization. That's why we will talk about the Brahmanas are supposed to give direction to the society. There's also a need of a spiritual master who has realized the Bhagwan feature, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagwan feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has realized eternity, full knowledge, and the blissful feature of the Supreme Lord. Intelligence, according to Bhagavad Gita, refers to the power to analyze things in their proper perspective, and knowledge refers to understanding of what is spirit and what is matter. So, the ability to distinguish, the ability to have the right perspective, that is intelligence. Rup Goswami says to accept everything that is favorable for devotional service and reject anything that is not favorable for devotional service. That takes intelligence to, to make that distinction. And knowledge, what is knowledge? The distinction between what is spirit and what is matter. So, Brahmanas are supposed to help all the other class to realize what is spirit, what is matter, in which direction they should move forward, even daily policies of how society should be administered. The directions from Brahmana are, are to be taken because they have the intelligence and they have the knowledge. Brahmanas have freedom from doubt and delusion when he because he understands their transcendental philosophy. Now, in this material world, the living entities are the main reason they are here is for sense gratification. They have a mental obsession for sense gratification. And the human body is designed in such a way that it's more prone to fall into the vicious cycle of sense gratification than to perform austerities. So this delusion that the next time I will be able to enjoy it, my next endeavor in the material world, I will make it happen. This is a delusion because I tried it last time, it did not work, but again and again there is a desperate experiment of the new beginning. Now it will be different. Now it will be different. So Brahmana is free from this doubt and delusion that I will be able to enjoy in this material world. The Brahmanas have power of thought. What is the right thought at this moment? What is the right thought, right action to be taken in such a situation? Now, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes how to develop the power of thought, right thought, and act accordingly. Power of thought is developed in association with persons who are authorities in scriptures, saintly person, and spiritual master, and those whose thinking is highly developed. The power of thought is developed in association with persons who are authorities in scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual masters, and those whose thinking is highly developed. So, to have more brain substance, to elevate for the society to be elevated collectively, there is a need for brahmanas, there is need for scriptures, there is a need for spiritual masters. If these three entities are not there, then there will be chaos in society. And Krishna has set up this system for order. Whenever Krishna's presence is there, there is order. And orders come from scriptures, saintly persons, and spiritual master. Associating with them, the conditioned soul, the rest of the other three class of society, develops the power of thought, right thought, and act accordingly. Now, this verse is about giving charity to a brahmana and then taking it away. And brahmanas, one quality of brahmana was that they act in mode of goodness. So this is something about charity. In 17th chapter, 20th verse of Bhagavad Gita, charity given out of duty without expectation of return at proper time and place to a worthy person is considered to be in mode of goodness. Charity given out of duty. It is the duty of Kshatriya, Vaishnavas, uh, Vaishyas, and Shudras to serve the Brahmana class of society. It is their duty without expectation of return at proper time and place to a worthy person. Who's a worthy person? Brahmanas, Vaishnavas, spiritual masters, is considered to be in mode of goodness. So, by serving the Brahmana class of society, according to this verse of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity also slowly rises to the Brahminical platform, or they are Brahminical in their quality. They are acting in mode of goodness. But it gets tricky when it is about specific person, and there this four order, the four classes of societies created by Krishna for the overall general upliftment of elevation of the society. The spiritual master gives direction to the person's specific nature. The spiritual master is a representation of Paramatma in the material world. He is able to see through the heart what are the hidden desires, what are the hidden motives giving charity. So there is a pastime of Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj that we will discuss later. But there are several pastimes, but one pastime was there was a doctor in Calcutta who comes to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, and he had a desire in his retirement life to live in Navdeep Dham. So he comes. So it's well known, that to serve the Vaishnavas, to serve Dham Vasis, to serve the residents of Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Mayapur Dham, Navdeep Dham, Jagannath Puri, Dwarka. They it is one of the most highly sorted after service. Lot of devotees go to trips. ISKCON devotees go to trip in Mayapur, Vrindavan, and the main focus of the trip is to serve the residents of the Dham. Now, a Calcutta doctor came to Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj that Maharaj, create, I want to start a free clinic for all the pilgrims who come to Navdeep and the residents also. So it sounds like a very sincere endeavor. The God Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj says, because Vaishnavas, spiritual masters, are able to see through hidden desires. I do not know the hidden motives of the doctor, but Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj says that no, for you, if you really want to reside in Navdeep Dham, then if you really want to reside in Navdeep Dham, then create structures, create systems in which there is more propagation of the holy name of the Lord. And do not spend your time in healing the sense gratifiers. Do not spend your time in healing the sense gratifiers. If you really want to stay in Navdeep Dham, if you really want to stay in the Dham, then you should put your resources so that the holy name of the Lord is propagated. Now, this sort of instruction will not be given will not be given by Brahmanas. They are for the general elevation of society, because this sounds like it, that this is good for the society, making the clinic for all the pilgrims. But spiritual master, pure devotees, Vaishnavas give specific instruction that is eternally beneficial to the conditioned soul. So we talked about how Brahmana have Brahman realization of the Sat feature, eternity feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this when in this system, the Chatur Varnya Maya system, Guna Karma, according to the quality, the Lord Krishna says that I have created this system to have order in society. And the words spoken by the Lord are called Aparushaya, meaning that they are different from the words spoken by the mundane world, who is in fact people in mundane world who are infected by four defects. Now this system is for order in society. There are different theories to how to have order in society. Well, at current times there are many billionaires who do lot of non-profit work in the world, in Africa, in third world countries, and they have their own ideas of how to have order in society. Lot of them talk about having their population decreased. Lot of talk about having a controlled destruction, a controlled chaos. For the time being, destroying a clan, a specific section of society, so that the population is reduced, and then there is order. The term is uh, order out of chaos. But Prabhupada says that there is so much land that overpopulation is not an issue. It's not an issue. There can be 10 times more population, but the Mother Earth has enough resources to take care of them. It is because of the sinful nature, the consuming mentality of the souls, conditioned souls in this world, that they want to consume more and exploit more resources, that Mother Earth is not freely giving out all the resources. So, all these new theories of how to have more order in society, you know, we are all, this society is driven toward more and more technological advancement. Prabhupada says that technological advancement will be the end of human society can if we are solely focused on that. So these new leaders of society, the theories they have, well, maybe according to their material knowledge it makes sense, but Krishna in Bhagavad Gita it says that Krishna's word are aparushaya. The system created by Krishna is free from the four defects that the person in this mundane world is affected by. So, the actual system to have order in society will be these four, having a society, a system which has these four divisions of Brahmana, intelligent class, Kshatriya, warrior class, administration, Vaishya, business class, Shudra, workers. Now, this class by His Holiness Romapad Maharaj about respecting Vaishnavas, the class was on Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 22nd chapter, 2nd verse. So, Maharaj focused on respecting Vaishnavas and how the culture of respect for qualified Brahmanas is necessary in society. Focused on the Sanskrit term Bhakti Karya, the reciprocal, respectful relationship between Brahmanas and Kshatriyas. It's a symbiotic relationship. They function best with each other. because Brahmanas are not directly involved in, in administration and wars most of the time. So Kshatriyas are needed. But Kshatriyas, where are they supposed to get their intelligence from? Are Brahmanas. Now, this current system of society, the divisions, the there are Kshatriyas, they are warriors. They are not really involved in administration. They're politicians who tell Kshatriyas, warriors, what to do, but they are not Brahminical in nature. So Brahmanas, Maharaj talked about Brahmanas are created from the mouth of the Supreme Lord. He's from the Virat Rupa, the universal form of Krishna, which Krishna showed to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. In this Virat form of Krishna, Brahmanas are coming from the face, mouth portion of the Supreme Lord. They are full of mystic power and they are averse to sense gratification. So, what we talked about is freedom from delusion and doubt. This delusion, this desperate experiment, every time, the next time I'm going to try, enjoy this material world, it's possible. Brahmanas are free from these doubts and delusions. So, there are two occupations a living entity has in this material world. Number one occupation is sense gratification. The other occupation is not engaging in sense gratification, but using the senses for the service, rendering service unto the master of the senses. The one who are engaged in sense gratifications are called demons, and one who are using section of society using their senses to render service unto the master of the senses, Krishna, are called demigods. So, in this Virat Rupa of the Supreme Lord, Brahmanas are coming from the face, Kshatriyas are coming from the arms, and Vaishyas are coming from the waist, and Shudras are coming from the legs. So, for a, for a person to be fully functional, he needs his head, arms, waist, and legs. Without head or without arms, without legs, for the it's every all of these sections are necessary for the human being to function properly. So Brahmanas are called the head of the society, so they are prime necessity for the society to function properly. Maharaj said that protection of Brahminical culture is the function of Kshatriyas. Brahmanas are the emblem of goodness and exemplify goodness. When the Brahmanas are active, when they are actual Brahmanas in society, the whole society progresses. The culture of respect for Brahmanas is very important. And Prabhupada said that Prabhupada was asked in an interview that you're, you're having so many people serving the movement full time. How can society function if what you're preaching everyone accepts and everybody takes this this life? Prabhupada said, is everybody coming now? So why are you asking this question? Prabhupada also wanted that there should be some first class men and women in society. So Prabhupada said that we are creating first class men and women. He said there is necessity of them. Not everybody will be able to accept it, that's understandable. But Prabhupada said, I'm not looking for stars, I'm looking for one moon. One moon is enough to illuminate the sky. So some men and women, qualified first class men and women, they are enough to give directions to the rest of the society. So naturally, when Prabhupada was giving this class, so the reporter asked, so I guess what you are trying to say is that you are the first class men. Prabhupada said, no, I am 10th class. but he was explaining the principle of how society can function optimally. So, what are the four qualities of Brahmanas? Brahmanas perform austerity. They What is the fruit of austerity? Control of senses and mind. And to perform austerity, there is a commitment needed to 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 get achieve anything in this material world. Some austerity needs to be performed. What does austerity means? There should be some commitment. In order to achieve this goal, I'm going to sacrifice some sleep because I have to prepare for exam tomorrow. There is a commitment needed. So the Brahmanas, they are also committed. What are they committed? Advancement in spiritual life. So they perform austerities. They are very enthusiastic about performing austerities as prescribed in the Vedic scriptures. Uh, Focused on learning and knowledge. We talked about learning and knowledge, gyan and vigyan, having the theoretical knowledge and having a practic understanding of the practical application of this knowledge. And Brahmanas have aversion to all kinds of sense gratification. So this makes it really clear what category of class a conditioned soul fits in. Are they averse to all kinds of sense gratification, or are they endeavoring to be free from sense gratification as much as it's possible? So, it's an injunction, prohibition. Injunction, doing what is good, and prohibition, restricting the enjoyment of senses. As Rup Goswami also said, accepting what is beneficial to devotional service unto Krishna and rejecting that is a hindrance. So, Brahmanas have their senses directed towards the service to a higher authority. And one quality of Brahmanas, as they are averse to all kinds of sense gratification, they are not bewildered by Maya. Because getting bewildered by Maya, Prabhupada says that the living entity suffers lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. So, but the chance of falling down is always there. We we have heard the story of Ajamila. He was born in a Brahminical family, but unless there is love developed for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the chance of falling down is always there. Prabhupada described that performing service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, actually, that is the absolute knowledge. Forgetting the verse I read in Bhagavad Gita yesterday, that rendering service unto Krishna, Krishna sits in the heart and illuminates all knowledge within the heart for the conditioned soul. And the person rendering devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, he has to have absolute knowledge. Everything that is needed to be known, Krishna lets him know. So, such living entities who are fixed in devotional service, they are not bewildered. They are not bewildered by Maya, the Maya energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so, hence, they do not suffer lifetime after lifetime. So, yes, Maharaj also talked about human form of life begins by acceptance of some regulation. Human society is required to follow the laws of God. What's the law of God? The system that is created by God, Krishna, four sections of society. So, for what is the wealth of Brahmanas? Because Prabhupada said if a Brahmana gets a lot of money, next day he will still be asking for some dakshina, because he will give all the money in charity, charity in mode of goodness. S- Prabhupada also said that what is charity not in mode of goodness? Giving the hard earned money for wrong causes, for man made causes. So, what is the wealth of Brahmanas? Austerity is the wealth of Brahmanas, making one's life very simple life. That's one more quality of Brahmana. So, Brahmanas are very enthusiastic about austerities, hence they have sense control, and hence they get spiritual wealth. Mode of goodness results from exercised sense control as prescribed in Vedic scriptures. So, that verse was about a conversation between Swayambhavu Manu and Maitreya Muni. They are both they're brothers to each other. They are both sons of Brahma. We will read that verse, but there's yes, the Kshatriyas should respect, protect, and worship Brahmanas, and this will elevate the society. Protection of Brahmanas are necessary by the Kshatriya class of society, and it's important to understand the value of both Kshatriyas and Brahmanas. Both functions are required. So let's read that verse. So Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 22nd chapter, second verse. Manu, Swambhu Manu and Maitreya Muni are talking. So, so Swambhu Manu says, to expand himself in Vedic knowledge, Lord Brahma performed the personified Veda. From his face created you, the Brahmanas, Maitreya Muni, who are full of austerity, knowledge, mystic power, and are averse to sense gratification. Brahmanas, these four qualities are there: austerity, knowledge, mystic power, and they are averse to sense gratification. Purport: the purpose of Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. Now, we talked about absolute truth in this chapter. In 64, this chapter which we are reading today, the 29th verse explained the word Krishna. Krishna, Krish means Lord's existence. Na means spiritual pleasure. And the purport said Krishna is the absolute truth. So if you combine taking we discussed this verse with Subhav Prabhu. So the understanding I got was what's absolute truth, what's living in truth is living in the loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. That's absolute truth. So the purpose of Vedas is to propagate the transcendental knowledge of the absolute truth. All the purpose of the Vedas, what does it mean? I think it means for me is all the purpose of Vedas, whatever scriptures are there, whatever austerities are performed, the end goal is not austerity, end goal is spiritual wealth. The spiritual wealth is living in a loving relationship with Krishna. The Brahmanas were created from the mouth of the Supreme Person. Therefore, they are meant to spread the knowledge of Vedas in order to spread the glories of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita, also Lord Krishna says that all the Vedas are meant for the understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Specially mentioned here, Yoga Yuktan Amal Patan, that Brahmanas are full of mystic power and are completely averse to sense gratification. Actually, there are two occupations. One occupation in the material world is sense gratification, and other occupation is spiritual activity to satisfy the Lord by his glorification. Glorifying the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one thing that really helped me was to take a deep look on how I viewed Krishna. What was my understanding of Krishna? Is it accurate? Is it helpful? Is it helpful in elevating, in advancing in spiritual life? Is this understanding of Krishna makes makes Krishna, is this understanding of God Does it make him worthy enough for glorification? So I I needed a lot of correction in that understanding. So Krishna is worthy of glorification. That satisfy Krishna, that satisfy the conditioned soul, living entity also. And this glorification, I think, develops a loving relationship with the Supreme Lord. Those who engage in sense gratification are called demons, and those who spread the glorification of the Lord or satisfy the transcendental senses of the Lord are called demigods. It is specifically mentioned here that the Brahmanas are created from the face of the cosmic personality or Virat Purusha. Similarly, Kshatriyas are created from his arms. The Vaishyas are created from his waist, and the Shudras are created from his legs. Brahmanas are specially meant for austerity because austerity leads to sense control, and sense control leads to spiritual wealth. What is spiritual wealth? Loving relationship between the soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahmanas are specially meant for austerity, learning, gyan, knowledge, vigyan, and are averse to all kinds of sense gratification. Averse from all kinds of sense gratification means they are free from doubt and delusion. They are free from doubt and delusion. Now, the last portion, spiritual master. So, how does spiritual masters, Vaishnavas, fit in this four sections of society? So, spiritual master, they have realization of not just Brahman, but Paramatma, feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Bhagwan feature. The Bhagwan, the Paramatma feature includes Sat and Chit, knowledge and eternity. But the Bhagwan feature includes knowledge, eternity, and the blissful feature, blissful quality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the spiritual master is realized in all of these three features. And what's the definition of a spiritual master? They are transparent via media through which the conditioned soul communicates with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words emanating from the instructions coming from spiritual master are as good as instructions coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual master is the real connection between soul and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so we talked about that from Brahmanas. They give, the Brahmana class of society is meant to give directions which is good for general elevation of the society. The spiritual master gives specific instruction that is good for the conditioned soul, and spiritual master possesses all real knowledge and is called Jagat Guru. It's that's come from Bhagavad Gita. The same verse I talked, that the one person who is fixed in devotional service, they have all knowledge. That Krishna illuminates all the space of darkness, ignorance in the heart of the living entity who is fixed in devotional service. So, in the purport of that verse, the purport of the verse, it was said, spiritual master possesses all real knowledge. So, the last portion I wanted to talk about was how Bhakti Vinod Thakur asked Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur to take to to be in the tutelage of, to take initiation Das Babaji Maharaj, and so the necessity of a spiritual master. Even though he Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur received Harinam from Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So Prabhupada, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is saying that if I accept a guru, it will be him only. He Bhakti Vinod Thakur recommended Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj to 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 accept Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur as his disciple. At Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that at that time I was very proud. I was thinking that there was no scholar equal to me, that there was no Tattvagyani equal to me, no speaker equal to me, and no philosopher equal to me. This Paramhansa Vaishnava, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, understood this, so he ignored my request for initiation. 3 or 4 times he told me that he would not accept disciples. He said, "What? You are the son of Bhakti Vinod Thakur. You took birth in such a high family that you are worshipful for to me. You are such a big scholar. Your appearance is so beautiful, and you possess all good qualities. So, what is the necessity of you becoming my disciple?" In this way, people worshipped my pride. People said that he was illiterate, but he possessed all real knowledge and was Jagat Guru. So, the necessity of accepting spiritual master, living entity may externally think that they have so much material opulence. They may have all the brahminical qualities also, and pure devotees from external view may seem differently, but Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur set example of accepting discipleship from Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj. At that time, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur was well known, and there were many well known sannyasis in Gaudiya Vaishnavism who were who wanted to be the spiritual master of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but he said the way he rejected all my external qualification, I knew that this is the person I want to take initiation from. So it it's a nice story because externally speaking, the qualities are completely different. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is a very quiet personality. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur is out in the open, and he was asked once in a boat by a boatman that there's so much difference between both of you. How does that relationship work? And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, "You see this boat running? There's a battery in the boat. The battery is very quiet, and it's causing all the levers to move and all the gears to move, and that's why this boat is moving forward. So the the bhajan and the austerities performed by Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj is very quiet, but he's the battery through which I'm spreading Krishna consciousness." So this is what I understood, how it is important to accept guidance of a spiritual master. Brahmanas are for the wholesome elevation of the society. And yes, that's it. Rendering respect and service unto Vaishnavas and spiritual master is what's needed. Yeah. If there is any feedback,
Um, that was a very nice connection between the austerity of the Brahmanas, allowing for self control, and the self control in turn leading to the wealth of the Brahmanas. And it struck me that the particular first verse was very much mentioning the strong connection Lord Krishna has with Brahmanas, and hence his, you could say, making that statement that one has to respect the Brahmana no matter what actions are performed by the Brahmanas. So I appreciated that connection, that the wealth of the Brahmana is the connection with Krishna, and so it made sense to me, the connection that Lord Krishna, how he views the Brahmana and the great status that he attributes to them.
Yes, yes, it's my personal, what motivates me. I'm always seeking, what would be the right thing coming from Krishna. And brahmanas are brahmanas have that connection, and that connection is to be honored. So direction is coming from brahmanas, is are the directions coming from Krishna. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल।